Hi, I'm Dr. Jim Siebert. It's time for our tropical forecast, our daily outlook of what's happening in the tropics and the Atlantic Sea Basin. And obviously things have been pretty active in the last 24 hours, especially with the formation of TD9. Of course, we're going to focus on that. The other systems out there in the Atlantic, both of them have a 70% chance of organizing into something over the next 5 days. And so it's pretty obvious that we are moving towards the height of hurricane season. So let's just get right to it. This is Tropical Depression number 9. I just wanted to show you exactly what we have right now, which means we do know that it's going to come into the Gulf of Mexico. It is expected to become at least a Category 2 hurricane. I would not be surprised if it became a major hurricane or a Category 3 or above. And it will make landfall. So this is 1 a.m. Sunday morning. So it's going to make landfall on Sunday, most likely in Louisiana. Now, this is what's really interesting. This is the latest update I just got from the National Hurricane Center, and they have taken all of southeast Texas out of the cone. Now, this is huge. This is huge for us because just 24 hours ago, we didn't have a tropical depression. The models were beginning to show signs of a little bit of agreement, but we've gone from that to the cone actually getting very small for how far out we are. So we're talking about Sunday, but there you see it. Just a tiny little bit of East Texas included in the cone. Now remember, the cone is not the area of influence. It's the area where the center of the storm could go. And so we are going to have some impacts here in southeast Texas, which we're going to talk about a little bit later on. But that's good news for us. So here's what's happened. So the low obviously closed. It's organizing even more as we speak. Now the computer models are really close together. Now we always have a few outliers. That's always going to happen. We have over 50 models that we look at, okay? But the forecast models have come together and they are really tight, especially here. Remember yesterday at this hour, the forecast models kind of went from Texas almost all the way into the panhandle of Florida. Now look at them. They are almost all of them, all of the major ones that we really trust are within the borders of Louisiana, just right here on the edge, possibly. So that tells us a lot. Our confidence is rising in this forecast, and it's good news for us in Texas, and it's bad news for our friends in Louisiana. So I always feel bad about this situation because it's not good for anybody. And so I worry about our friends there. So let's talk about what's driving things. And the big question mark had been which was going to win, the Bermuda high or the high that was over us. Now, if the high that had been over us, okay, last week or so, it's been hot without any rain, although the rain is coming back into the forecast because the high moved. If that high was still here, this thing would go straight into Mexico. So the question was whether or not the Bermuda high would have enough influence to pull it in and it would follow and go right between the two areas of high pressure. And that's exactly what's going to happen as it's going to come up here to the north and then it kind of scoot across the Gulf of Mexico and then take that right-hand turn. So everything is really coming together quickly. And so the forecast is small, the cone is a lot smaller, and so our confidence is much higher than it was. So let's talk about some impacts that we'll have here in the Texas area. Now, obviously, the worst of it's going to be east of us, where they're going to have the winds, they're going to have the big storm surge, they're going to have more than 10 inches of rainfall. White is more than 10 inches of rainfall for a good portion of east and southeast Louisiana. New Orleans is really going to get it. Lake Pontchartrain is going to have the rainfall as well as the storm surge. Mobile, Alabama is also going to get in on the storm surge, so this is a hurricane for them as well. And then you come over here to us. Between now and Tuesday of next week, we could get 2 to 3 inches of rain total. And we have rain in the forecast later on tonight, going on into Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that has nothing to do with that area of low pressure. So that's really most where our rain is going to be coming from. So we're definitely on the clean side of the storm. The right side of the storm is where the problem area is going to be, and we are going to be missing out on almost all of that. So let's talk about what we will have. Okay, now what we should be doing also. We still need to watch for any changes to the forecast. I mean, and that the chances for major changes are really dropping dramatically. But here's what we're going to get. We will see elevated tides, especially just along the coast, mostly Sunday. So Saturday should be a pretty okay day. But by Saturday afternoon into Saturday evening and then Sunday, the tides are going to be going up. And minor coastal flooding is probably likely just about anywhere. Now, what are we talking about when we say coastal flooding? If you go, like, for example, Surfside Beach, or if you go to Galveston, you know the roads are right there by the beach. Now at Galveston, they're a little bit higher. You got the sea break and all that. But down by Surfside, where you don't have that, those beaches are probably going to get underwater. That's what we're talking about as far as minor coastal flooding. And then some inlet areas, you know, as you come into the bays, they could also have some issues as well. And that should be about it. But we do want to stay alert. I mean, this is going to be possibly a major hurricane. Again, not that far away. That always makes me nervous, even though we're on the good side of things. So we don't want to completely drop our guards. We do want to take at least a little bit of time and just kind of watch this. Now, keep in mind too, we talked about this yesterday, and I want to talk about it again, because social media, while it's a great tool, it's also not the best for when we talk about misinformation, and there's still going to be a lot of misinformation out there. So please be careful who you rely on for your information. Like, you know, we spend a lot of time trying to make sure we give you exactly the right kind of information. So does the National Weather Service. So does the National Hurricane Center. You could trust us as far as those kinds of sites. We still do not want to overreact, even now when everything looks better for us. I'm not throwing a party. You know, I'm not going to be celebrating. But I mean, it's certainly good for us. It's better for us. But we don't want to drop our guard down either. By the way, we're moving towards the height of hurricane season. So, you know, it's always good to be prepared. And again, look for the trends. Watch the trends more than just the center line. The trend is the models are coming together. The trend is that our confidence is growing with this forecast. And then also our confidence is growing that it's going to be really, really bad in southeast Louisiana and parts of Mississippi and Alabama. Now, as far as names go, we're waiting for it. So it's kind of up in the air, but Ida or Ida, I always going to say that incorrectly. It's one of those names that you can really easily mess up. And then Julian after that. So it's going to be probably Ida. Looks like it's going to be that way, and probably within the next 24 hours will be the next tropical storm, as we're keeping track of the names. So that's kind of what's going on. A big difference over the last 24 hours. We certainly have a lot more answers today than we did yesterday. We do still have some questions, like how much coastal flooding will we see in the area, how much rainfall still would we get compared to obviously what Louisiana is going to get. It's going to be much, much less. So stay tuned, and we'll have another update for you within 24 hours.